Hi friends, how are we doing today? My name is Dara and I'm making this video for a friend of mine who asked me if I had a video on this topic, and it's 100 days of code. Now, many folks who want to start in programming or take a challenge in learning a new skill in coding would give themselves 100 days challenge. That's a little over 3 months to learn how to write in that programming language. And she asked me how she could set up a repo on GitHub so she can track a journey. And I'll say that is being intentional about your purposes. You want to learn how to code and you want to be able to document that journey properly. So here is it. There are two things that could happen. It's either you have a GitHub account already. It's that you have a GitHub account already, or you don't. If you do not have a GitHub account, you go ahead to sign up for one. If you have an account already, you go ahead and sign into the account and create a new repository and then get started with it. Now, there are two ways you could do this. You could go ahead and create one repo per day, or you could do one repo for all the 100 days, and then each day we have its own folder. So you have day 1, day 2, day 3, and you put your learnings in there. So what I normally would advise is have one repo for everything, as such that you can always document it on and on like that. So what I'll do is, if it was me, if I was to learn how to code all over again, or maybe I'm picking a new language challenge, I'll create a repo, say, so it would be something like github.com/Dara Oladapo, and that will be, I'll call it my 100 days of code. Mind you, without the spaces. So inside there, I would have a readme file. And because I'm learning C#, C# is my own programming language of choice. If I was to learn Java or JavaScript, I'll put the gitignore file for that programming language. So let me just write this properly here. readme.md. Then I'll have my gitignore file. Then I'll start having my days. Day 1 would be hello world, maybe. Inside this folder will have its own readme to summarize the things I learned for that particular day. And it will have all the files that I used, all the folders I used for that particular day. Then I'll go over for day 2. It will have its own readme file. And then it will have its own folders and its own files, on and on till I get to day 100. On some days, you might not do anything. Yes, it happens like that there are some days you just feel discouraged or not just feel like doing anything. It happens to all of us, to be honest. You could just put in a readme file, well, I didn't do anything today. So what you normally do is, your overall readme, the one in your root folder, let me ignore this. The readme file here would contain the summary of what you're doing and hyperlinks to each of the readme in each of the days. So you could just have an overall summary of the day here in the readme, and then you would put a link to the readme file. So enough of drawing an illustration here. Let me actually show you how I will do that. So if currently I do not have an account on GitHub, I would go to github.com and sign up for an account. I'll put in my username, so I can call this 100 days of code Dara. And then put in my email address. And then put in my password. and then I sign up. I finish all the sign up process for GitHub as it may take me. Then once I'm done signing up, it will take me to go ahead and create my first repository. Then I'll go through that challenge. But I have an account with GitHub already, so I'll go to it. So this is my GitHub account. I have a couple of repositories already, but if you're new, you probably don't have a repository in there already. Not a problem. So I'll click on new, and I'll say I want to create my 100 days of code repository. So I'll put this as my 100 days of code. And then I put a description. And then I can put it as public or private. So if I want folks to see it as I progress, I'll put it as public. If I want it to just be me alone who can see it, I'll put it as private, so that maybe after, if I decide to make it public, I can then go ahead and change it. Then the important part here is I'll need to add a readme file. This helps me get started quite fast. The Azure bot you see here, do not worry about it. You will not have that for when you're beginning. This is just one of the extensions I installed on my GitHub account. Then you should add a git ignore file from the start. Then you select the programming, the ID you'll probably be using. So if I'm using C#, Visual Studio would be the git ignore file I'll be looking for, because it contains all the files that should not be pushed to my repository, such that those are only local to me. And then if you want it to be public, you need to choose a license for it. If it's open, if it's all that, you select all that here. So mostly folks use MIT license for this kind of stuff. You can decide and read about licensing much later. Now it will give me a main branch. Please note it's now main branch on GitHub, not master. So you should note that you can change the default name in your settings if you want, but no worry about that. You're just learning how to code. You don't have to worry about all the settings and stuff. So once you create that repository, you take a couple of moments, and then you would have your shiny new 100 days of code challenge to get started with. Then you could go ahead and edit your readme in here, but the fun part of it is you should actually have this on your system now. And then what you will do is you can open it with GitHub Desktop. I have GitHub Desktop installed on my machine, or you can just use the command line if you want to do that, if you're not use the command line. But you could just open it in GitHub Desktop. I will advise you actually use GitHub Desktop for a start, because it makes your life very easy. So in GitHub Desktop, I've set the folder that I normally save my projects in. It's inside drive C and projects. If you're on a Mac, it should be probably /user/something. If you're on Linux, it should be another directory. This is Windows. That is why it's this way. And I'll click on clone. And to be honest, I'm ready to get started with my 100 days of code. Now I could decide to open this in my Explorer to actually see where it's saved on my system. So this is where it's saved on my system. It's saved inside C projects 100 days of code. I'll put that aside for now. I've set VS Code as my editor for GitHub Desktop. So I'll open this folder, this is my repository, in Visual Studio Code. And this is where I'll be storing all my work. Now, for my friend Abidemi who's learning how to write C#, this is what you have. You have VS Code. I normally just advise you use VS Code for learning how to do this, because it's easier. You would have a grasp of the skill you're trying to learn. You use a lot of command line instructions. You would do all your stuff. So normally in the readme file, you would go ahead to put a summary of the things you're doing. So I'll just open a preview to the side so we can see what is going on in there. I'll just start editing, so I'll probably say day 1. I am learning hello world. I'll save that. So once I start learning, I could create a folder and call that day 1. Oh, sorry, let me rename that. It's taking a couple of moments out of my head here. Okay, now I got the one. So I have Markdown lint installed on my machine, so it's telling me I need to conform to the Markdown lint rules. So I've done that. Now inside day 1, I said it will have its own readme file. So I'll create a new file, right click on the folder, and I'll call that day1.md. That's for doing documentation. So I'll say this is day 1. I am learning hello world today. I installed all my tools and I am ready to go. So you would have such things inside. So normally inside here, you will need to cd into day 1 to start creating your project. Sorry, I missed that folder there. Yep. Let me clear the screen right there. So inside here, that's where you probably create your new console app. You would create an hello world program ideally inside here. And then on and on like that, to start creating projects inside each of the days. There are some days that would overlap. For example, maybe you're learning databases with C#. You would probably span 2 days. So you would probably have day 1 plus day 2. You decide how you want to structure your folders. It's all up to you. So now I have my readme file for day 1. I have for day 2. I have my folders in here. So inside the day 1 specific readme file, you can now put all the stuff you learned. I learned the following. You now start listing. On and on until you're done with everything you want to document for day 1. You do the same for day 2, day 3 until you reach the end of day 3. Now, what you can do now is, I said earlier on that you need to, link to the different days inside your main readme file. So what you will do here, go to the main readme file and probably say more info. Here, this is how you do links in Markdown. So I'll just right click on this and copy the relative paths for this file. So this will lead me to the exact file that I need. But I think when you get on GitHub, it should sort of want it to be / and not / because I'm on Windows, it's /. So you would want to change it to a /. So that is that. So you can have more info about day 1, the details of what happened in day 1 inside here. Now let's say you are in day 2 now. I'll make a folder for day 2. And I'll go into that folder. And I'll probably say, maybe on day 2, I learned data types. So what I'll do is inside day 2, I'll create a new file, day2.md. I should rename this, my typing these days, or something else. All right. So you'll put a title. Today, I learned about data types and variables. We have int, double, float, decimal, string, and a lot more. We use them primarily to store values in computer memory. Then you go on and on about everything you learned in day 2. Then you go back to your main readme file as usual. But of course, what I'll do here, copy and paste will help me here. So I'll paste this in here, put this as day 2. And of course, I'll change this over here to be day 2.md. So on day 2, I'm learning about data types and variables. Now, let's say it's only at the end of day 2 that I have time to push this up. So I'll do, let me clear this screen first. Or maybe it's after the one you want to do this also, it's perfectly okay. So I'll do, let me clear that screen. So I'll do a git add. Oh, I need to go one directory up. Okay, now I'm in where I'm supposed to be. So I'll do a git add dot to add all my files to my repository. Or I could use the help of GitHub. There's a repositories thing here. So you can see I have stage changes. These are the files that I've added now when I did git add dot. If I was to create a new file, say for example, I did a day 3. Today is all about console. Pardon me. Today is all about console. So let's say that's day 3. If I click on this, you would see I have changes to stage. So if I click on add here, it will add it to the list of stage changes that are supposed to go up to GitHub. Now, nothing is in GitHub except the files that were originally created for me. So I could do this from here. Remember, I've not added it in my main readme file. I prefer to use the command line for everything pretty much. So I need to make sure this is formatted properly. Day 3. Okay, now I got the 3 set in here. I need to, of course, copy and paste to save me some time. And all I need to do here is just change some stuff and put in the summary of the day. So day 3, what are we learning in day 3? We are learning about console. Now, I've installed some extensions in my VS Code that helps me do all this smart stuff. So I might want to check out some of the extensions. Maybe sometime later I'll do some videos on extensions in VS Code that I use every day. All right, so all about console. Now I'm good to go here. Now, what I need to do is, as I progress in my solution, as I progress in doing my work, I would need to commit my messages. So I can put my commit message here, or I can put it here. I'll use the command line for ease of work. So I'll do git commit m, and I'll put in all work in. And then I will push this up to GitHub. So I'll do git push origin master. You can learn all about Git in a quick video. So that not a problem. It says it failed to push some ref. That is not a problem. I think I'll just click on here and click on push. So that'll take a couple of moments. And if I minimize this and I go inside GitHub, and I refresh it, I should see my work all in here, and this is the proper documentation that will happen normally for all the work I do. And I hope this has helped you quite a bit. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, tell your friends all about it. I'll see you again in another video. Thank you guys, and bye.